Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is John Henry Soto. Welcome to JHS Interviews. And tonight, I have my good friend, Sam. Well, I don't know if he likes to be called Samuel, but I'm going to call him Sam. Sam Platizky is going to be on. He is the founder, he's a filmmaker, founder of Narrow Bridge Films, based right here in Bayonne, New Jersey, which is really awesome. He's got we're going to talk about all his work and a lot of different projects and, of course, projects coming up as well. So please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to JHS Interviews, Sam Platinsky.
Thanks for having me,
Hey,
John.
how
Yeah,
are you?
Sam's good. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good. Sam or Sam. You can call me Sammy.
okay.
That's
And
either
I
way.
keep it's Platinsky.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's
Okay, 'cause
100% right.
I for some reason want to add an N, and it's just a mental
Yeah,
thing. I have like
I
a thing.
people. You're not the only one.
Really?
I've known, like our friend Dan. I've known since high school, and he still calls me Platinsky. I'm like, all right, whatever, it's fine. It's too late. It's too late to
That's
change
funny.
now.
I have a
Yeah.
problem with that. I put an N in Fred, so I have like really it's another issue that I have. Listen, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. What I told Dan when he first came on was we've he's been on my projects and we've worked together and stuff, but we never really sat down and had a conversation. And I always feel like I love talking to people and I love kind of figuring out where their backgrounds are and what drives them and stuff. And so this is actually a pleasure because you and we've spoken a bunch of times and
Yeah.
we've done stuff together, sort of together, not really like on sort of like in the same projects, but
Like
we did, yeah, we
rotating
did
on each other.
yeah, and you were in my short Listen Charlie, which you were fantastic in it, and I'm
Thank you.
currently editing that. I suck, but I'm my editing is just so bad. I'm just anyway. I'm figuring it out as I'm crawling through it. But so this is great. I get to ask you questions and stuff because it's always been very fascinating for me to meet someone that's really doing it. You know what I mean? Like I look at you guys at your group, and I'm so impressed with you guys because you guys are always there for each other. You guys are always supportive of each other. And it's just very, very impressive. And so tell me a little bit about like your background and not you don't have to go into like, well, when I was 5 I saw Jaws. Well, you're younger than that. It wouldn't be Jaws for you. It'd probably be like Back to the Future or something. But so tell me what that was like growing up. Was always film was like the driving force in your life?
I was always a fan of like, mostly like sci-fi was my window into a lot of things. So like, and that's from my parents. So like we watched like sci-fi TV shows, sci-fi movies, and then got into everything else. Comic books were a huge part of my growing up, and still now. I mean, like if you
Yeah.
can see the background, I got comic book stuff all over the place. So I've always loved that kind of stuff. And theater, they took us to the theater, me and my brother Isaac. So they were always very much like a story kind of driven family, like all
Oh,
entertainment type things. Weren't like big on sports, but like film, TV, theater, all that stuff. We were and books and comic books and all that stuff.
yeah.
So that was growing up.
Wow.
Yeah.
So comic books, it seems like it took this strange arc, where it kind of started out as this thing that was awesome, and then it kind of became like, oh well, that's only like nerds and geeks, and then it became awesome, and now it's
Yeah.
very awesome. Now it's like it's
It's
just like
popular now.
it's totally popular,
Yeah.
and I what do
I was
you
ahead of my
think?
time.
So, completely. What do you think happened? Was it? Do you think the films were part of that?
It's a mixture of things. I think the films were a huge part of it. It got more into the public eye. I mean, it was the nerdy thing when I was growing up. I was still into it. I went to Comic Cons before they were popular. They weren't selling out back then. You could just go buy a ticket and go to the Comic Con. And then TV shows, animated series like the Batman animated series, X-Men. But even then, it was still kind of nerdy, and it just kind of blew up around the turn of the century, around the like 2000, and now it's the thing. It's cool, and then Marvel, I'd say Marvel's the one that really kind of like pushed it forward to the point where it's like the billion-dollar industry that it is now.
Right.
But now everybody's into it, which is, it's
Yeah,
cool.
it's totally awesome. And I think that I think the Iron Man movie kind of pushed it into, because I think the Iron Man movie, had the Iron Man movie not been as successful as it was, I don't think the Marvel world would have been created. I
Uh-huh.
recently just got into the Marvel world, believe it or not, because my son is 3 years old, and he is Iron Man. So,
Nice.
and he tells me this every day. So, um, so I actually started watching the films, and I got to be honest, I really like them. you
Me
know,
too.
like
Me
I
too.
was very. What do you think about that when you hear somebody like Scorsese say stuff, kind of derogatory against? I mean,
It's everybody's see, I have this thing about personal taste and arts. Every like art is subjective. There's no
completely
one answer. It's like, but people like put it into boxes where it's like, I'm right, you're wrong, my taste is the only taste that matters. And it's
right,
all opinion. Everybody just needs to like relax and, even if a movie I think is bad, to somebody loves it. And
right.
I'm sure people think my movies are bad and I enjoy them. So,
Your movies
everybody's
are
got their
great,
own thing. Thank you.
but I think also that aside from being subjective, I think it's also the genres, something like the genre, like the Marvel movies. It's not a thing that's really been that popular throughout. We have every what we had a Superman, Christopher Reeves in '70s, and then it really didn't really take off well. Every time they did one of these films, it was for TV. Like I remember growing up and seeing Spider-Man, a TV movie, like on Channel
Hmm.
7, and it was like,
Yeah, the
and
Hulk.
yeah, the Hulk, the movie, and so
Yeah.
it was kind of like not really taking that seriously. And then I think but again, with Scorsese, I think it's a little bit um I don't want to say anything. I mean, I'm nothing against Scorsese. Obviously, he's a genius filmmaker, but
Yeah.
like what you said is like taste is really what drives everything. And when you're talking about art and being subjective, is not only subjective, it's completely different at every. You know what I mean? It's like it's always going to be somebody's always going to put out something that's completely like Tarantino is one thing, and Scorsese they're both great, but so I think that these films, they do actually tell a story. I think that the arc is actually well written. The fact that they incorporate all these storylines into that stuff, I think it's great. Now let's transition to your series. Red Scare, Yellow Scare, Green Scare coming up. Um, so that trilogy is, you have to incorporate a lot of those elements, and you got to keep track of that. Because I'm sometimes when I'm watching Marvel movies, I'm like, how the hell do they remember that dude had like one scene in this film, and now he's back because somebody remembered him, and I mean, you really have to be in the stories. How do you keep up with that?
I mean, for me, it's much smaller. It's
No, I
there's
know,
only
but
a handful of movies,
I
but
mean, it's still, yeah.
yeah,
Go
no, I
ahead.
mean, it's just it's trying to, for me, at least with like that trilogy, it's trying to like make each one stand on its own, because I mean, it's independent films. I can't like rely on the fact that somebody might have seen one and not the other. So that was one of my big challenges when we were doing Yellow Scare. I wanted people who saw Red Scare to enjoy it and to say like, "Oh, I remember that," but also to just be able to go in fresh and enjoy it like that. Same with Red Scare. Green Scare is a little more different because that just like I've written it. I don't have money to make it, but
Right.
it takes things from all the other two movies and kind of like ends a bunch of storylines and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's big for us, but it's not as big as the Marvel universe.
Well, yeah, but it's still an undertaking, and I know because it's
Sure.
you can't. Somebody wrote, sorry, I thought this was funny.
But Scorsese obviously can't. He can't. He can't. You know.
I know. That is a good point, actually. There are people that can excel in that. And I think that that's a very interesting point. What are you?
I
Your
love it.
Go ahead.
No, I was like, I love Scorsese. I love
Of
his
course.
like mob movies, but special effects aren't really his thing. Everybody's
Right.
got their thing. Like I don't know if you saw the what was it? The Irishman. Was that the one that came
Yeah, I
out over
did.
the winter? The special
Yeah.
effects in that are you know
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
not great. So
No. I mean, it
everybody's
was
they
it was
keep their own things.
when I got past it, I enjoyed it. But when I
Hmm.
first had to witness Robert De Niro limping, trying to be 30 years old or whatever he was trying to pretend to be.
Yeah.
I had to, it was a little bit rough for me, but I actually did enjoy it. And I do enjoy Scorsese's style and those actors. You know, it's hard to look at them and not see them as them. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like it's, you
Yeah.
know, it's like that's them and they're doing their thing, but it's really a testament to his ability to direct and to tell a story. And really, that's what it really comes down to. So let's talk about story. Um, you've written so many of these films on for Narrow Bridge, maybe all of them. When you sit down to write, well, a lot of them. When you sit
Yeah.
down to
No,
write, what's your? Do you already have an idea? Did something inspire you? Do you, or is it something like I'm just gonna sit down and try to just put something down to paper?
almost always I have an idea and then I need to like put it out on paper. I don't always know where it's going, but like that, like the one a script I'm writing right now, I don't know 100% where it's going, but I had an idea, so I had to
Right,
start it. Like I feel compelled to like get it down on paper out of my head and into the world. So
right.
that's pretty much that's where my like process starts. I just like get the idea, start. Sometimes I outline if I have a good idea, I'll outline it from beginning, middle, and end, and then I'll get in there. Sometimes I just have an idea and just start writing from beginning and find my way around.
Yeah. Do
You know,
you do, do you have does the idea come from an inspiration, something that you a conversation you heard, or is it just your own imagination where you're just sitting there coming up with stuff?
sometimes sometimes it comes like inspiration comes from everywhere for me. Like sometimes I'll just be like thinking of like something random, and then I'll have an idea and just start going. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll see something on TV. I'm like, oh, I could do something better than that. And then I
Right.
challenge myself to that. One time, I wrote a romantic comedy that we haven't produced. It's too big for what we have right now, but I just wanted to challenge myself to write a romantic comedy because it was as far away from anything else that I'd written.
Yeah.
Because when I first started, like I wrote two zombie movies in a row, and even though it was just two movies, like people were like, "What's the next zombie movie going to be?" I'm like, I don't want to make all zombie movies. I want
You're
to do
gonna be
something
the
different.
zombie guy.
Yeah. So I said I'm going to do something as far away from a zombie movie as I can, and it was romantic comedy, and I struggled with that because I had to find the right hook, the right in, and then I found it and got there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have a thing Keith is the same. What's I'm scared? It's called. Hmm.
I call it the scare verse. You know,
There you go.
it's the scare trilogy, or you can also call it the Rex Steel trilogy
That's
because it's his.
right.
He's the main character.
Um, yeah, they're great and they're very funny. They're like I know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like I could see that it's that what you're going for on it, and it's very not and it's not slapstickle, but it's sort of like a farce in a sense where there's a little bit of farce in it. There's a little bit of silliness, and then there's a very dramatic. And I mean, I just cracked up laughing at both of those. They were just really well done, and just very entertaining, which really is the reason for for any of it, right? It's why we
Yep.
actually want to do this. We want to entertain people so they laugh and go, ha ha, I feel better now. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
home and not
that's
kill myself tonight.
that is
I'm just gonna
that's the
drink
goal.
coffee. Right. So that's the goal of a filmmaker. Just try to get
Yeah,
people not to kill themselves.
yeah,
Um
especially nowadays.
yeah, it's really been a weird year. So let's talk a little bit about that. How are you dealing with this whole pandemic? Have you been writing a lot or editing or doing something that you figure, well, I'm home, I might as well do something?
Well, let's see. Yeah, yes to all that. I've been writing. I've written three feature scripts since we started this whole thing.
Wow.
I'm writing a fourth. Excuse me. And then we edited me and my brother. We edited a bunch of like horror shorts that we're working on. We're putting together a horror anthology as our next big thing.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we still have more to film, but like we can't film right now. So I'm just putting together
Right.
what we do have and trying to tighten that up so it's ready to go. And once we get other stuff, we'll put that in there. So we edited that. We filmed some stuff at the beginning of the pandemic, like social distancing comedy shorts that we
Yeah, I
were
just see
doing.
those. Yeah, those were funny.
And then I just like I saw like I'm in this group called Brazen Giants Ensemble in the city, and still great artists. It was started by Bill Sorvino and Christian Kyber, and
Hmm.
great guys. They started this group. It's for like artists to develop their scripts, to practice their audition materials ahead of time, just to really to work. And it's good. It's a good experience. So I saw everybody was kind of like, I need to do something. So I was like, let me try to give as many people as I can something to do during this thing. So
Yeah.
I wrote monologues, and that became this short thing called the social distance monologues or distancing monologues. I think I
Hmm.
called it, and they recorded it on their own. They filmed it. I gave them maybe one or two notes, and then that was it. Put it all together, threw it up online, just to have something done.
Yeah,
You know,
that's so
so I'm
cool.
trying to keep busy.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the reasons why I started doing this also was I was thinking, man, I know so many people. I would love to have actually I started calling people first and just
Uh,
having phone conversations with people. And I said, since I'm home, let me start calling people. And I thought, wow, this conversation was so great. I wish it was recorded. And this is so somebody saying, thank you for answering.
you're welcome.
Yeah. And make it
Make it
bloody.
bloody. The horror movie's gonna be bloody.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
so
that's it.
you're a horror fan, horror movie
So I'm a
fan,
fan.
right?
I'm a fan of all genres, really. I
Really?
Yeah, I love it all. I don't like, and I try to write in as many different genres as I can. I try to keep it different as possible, just to like to stretch my own skills to improve, and just because I like it all.
Yeah.
You know,
So writing so prolifically, did you go to school for writing, or was it just like self-taught?
I did not. I went to college. I was an English major with
Okay.
a concentration in theater, so I was doing it for the acting, and
Oh, okay.
so I've read a ton of plays over the since high school and college and after college. So I've read a ton of plays, and I was reading screenplays, and just I always loved to tell stories. It's like
Yeah.
before anything, before I acted, I would like to write short stories. So any kind of creative writing class I was in grammar school and high school, I love that. I love telling weird short stories that were, not good back then, but I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
And then, high school came, and I got more into the acting side. So that was how I told stories. And
Mm.
then in college, I acted a lot. And then it was around, the movie Garden State, Zach
Sure.
Braff.
Zach Braff, yeah.
I
I
watched
actually
that
own
two.
that film.
Me too. Me too. And
Yeah.
I haven't watched it in a while. I don't think I would like it as much as I did originally, but
Mm.
I loved it when it came out. I loved the idea behind it. And he was this guy who had this hit show on NBC, and he still was like, I'm not getting the roles I want. I'm just going to make my own movie. And I
Yep.
loved that. And so I started writing screenplays at that point.
Yeah.
And then I was just writing them just for fun for the most part, wasn't getting them done. And then after college, I was in off Broadway plays. I was doing background work, independent film work, student films, and I wasn't like feeling satisfied. Like
Mm.
I like the thing I love about acting. It's not the money. Money's great, but I like the artistic side, the creating a character, getting really into that and feeling what the character feels. And I wasn't getting that, so I was like, I'm writing. I can write myself a thing, and then
Mm.
maybe put it together, and that's how the whole thing
Yeah.
started.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think a lot of filmmakers probably take that route, right? Where they're not getting like for me, I remember like I knew a short Puerto Rican from the Bronx ain't gonna get no leading role, in a romantic thing, and I thought, I was like, how
make
can
your
I do
own.
that? So yeah, so I just wrote something and I called up some actor friends and filmmakers, and I was just like, can we shoot this? And we did, and it did well, and and then from there I just thought, you're right, it's part of the fulfillment of this is being able to tell the story and being able to really dive into a character and see what that character can do and how can that character develop into something. Sometimes you don't even know where that character is going to develop. You're writing and you're like, oh wow, this guy is going to do this, really? And it's almost just telling you how he's going to go because he's been developed, and you don't get that a lot of times. When you're handed, especially when you go to New York and when I was doing stuff in New York, I played the same kind of stuff for a lot. Very very quick, small roles of like very sympathetic characters. I played mailroom clerks and delivery, played in stock boys or stock men, at supermarkets and stuff. And it was just not fulfilling. It's just like
No,
it's just not fulfilling. So that's a wonderful thing to have that ability too, because I'm sure that there's a lot of actors out there that would love that, but to sit down and be able to write a full script, that's like a very very impressive thing. What would you I mean, you've done both. What do you like what would, if somebody said you can only pick, this is a hard question, if you can only pick filmmaking, writing, or just being given roles?
if I could be successful, and I think right, like my answers changes like from time to time. It depends what I'm doing. Like if I
Hmm.
get a really good role, I'm like acting is like always the best. But
Yeah.
especially in this downtime, it's like writing is where like my heart is right now. I
Right.
love to write because nobody can tell you, don't write. I don't have to be. I'd like to be hired
That's
to
right.
write something, but
Hmm.
I can just write my stuff and get it out there, and that's I love doing that, and it feels like for me right now it's the most expressive thing that I can do, and I feel like if I had to choose one right now, that would be it. Writing.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. It's the only thing that people can still do. Nobody can. Production
We're
doesn't have to
almost there.
open up for that.
We're almost there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what I like also is one of the things that I've mentioned before on this show with other filmmakers was that everybody's been consuming so much content on Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, and those places are getting pretty much depleted of any of the good shows. People have watched them all. So there
Yeah.
are guys right now writing, getting ready to for some kind of an explosion of really great content, that's going to be out there.
Yeah.
So it's really going to be an exciting time, I think.
Yeah, no, it's streaming services. They haven't stopped putting them out there. I mean, like HBO
Yeah.
Max came out like a couple weeks ago. That's
Yep.
new. CBS has their thing. NBC's has their new streaming thing coming out, I think, in a week or two. So
Mm-hmm.
they're not slowing down that. So
No, because
once
they
like the
know.
world opens up again, that's
Yeah,
the content's gonna be insane. The amount of
I
content, and
know it's
hopefully,
gonna be
my
yeah,
content is some of that content.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
And I think it's gonna be a race. Really, I think there's gonna be a
yeah,
lot of people that are gonna be out there with their script. Hey, read this, read this. That kind of stuff.
yeah.
Do you ever get like that the film industry is getting a bad rap?
What do you mean? Like how?
Well, in the last couple of years, we won't get political, obviously. But
Sure.
in the last couple of years, a lot of performers, musicians, actors, and whatever, they've come out, very, very openly on certain issues. And I always go back to it when Elvis Presley was asked about something. Everybody knows he was a big conservative guy, but they asked him a question about that, and he was like, yeah, I'm really not going to talk about that. I'm an entertainer. I'm just here to entertain you. And
Yeah,
he took that road through this whole career. And I always thought I like that because it just makes me look at the artist. It doesn't make me look at the person with an opinion. I fall into the trap. I'm a sucker for it
yeah.
myself. I'm just saying I'm not trying to say that I've got it handled. But what do you think about that, especially Hollywood in the last I mean, it's been slapped
Few
around.
years.
Yeah.
uh, I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, on the one hand, my politics and everything align with like a lot of what they're saying, so I can't really be offended. I don't feel like shut up, But
Right.
if you have like that, that spot, that space where you can like talk to people and you think you can make a difference, I think in some ways it would be wrong not to if you
Mm,
think you can make a difference. And that also has like it's a double-edged sword because like then like I've seen people on Twitter. My Twitter is terrible, it's all political. But I've seen people on Twitter be like, you know what, I don't care if you support this person, unfollow me, don't buy my stuff.
yeah.
And it's a strong thing. It's you're telling you're sacrificing your livelihood, but if you're willing to do that,
Right.
that's on you. And then like there's some like J.K. Rowling with the Harry Potter creator. she
Yeah.
comes out with all her views, and it's like, it's
Yeah.
I just want to enjoy Harry Potter. I don't want to
Right.
think about like this stuff.
So
So it's a mixed bag.
So it does, yeah, it does lean towards, I guess, what the consumer is receiving, and what their
Yeah.
political views are, or not even political, just like their views are. Like, I remember, what's his name, Charles Barkley, and I talked about this before, where he was in an interview, and I can't, he was had some game or something. This was when he was playing, and apparently he had some problem, and he spit at somebody in the audience or something, and had some kind of like altercation. And they asked him, don't you think you're a role model? And he was like, I ain't no role model. I'm no role model for nobody. I'm no role model. And
Yeah.
I think that's wrong. I think if you've been blessed with the ability to play that game, which is very, very few, the percentage of people that can play that game at that level is so small. But if you've been
Yeah.
blessed with that ability to play it at that level, then you are a role model, whether you like it or not. And I think we're all role models to that degree,
I would
where
agree with that.
somebody's going to look at you and be like, and maybe not judge you, but they're going to be inspired by whatever you say, whether they agree or not. How you say it is really going to be the key element for me, you know.
Yeah.
So, do you write when you're thinking of writing something? Are you conscious of your audience?
I'm trying to be more so than I have in the past. Like, because part of me is just, I mean, you're not going to please everybody, and I know that. I'm not going to make everybody happy with everything. So I want to at least make something that I'm proud of, something that I like, something I would want to see. So that's the main thing. I try not to overthink that, but at the same time, like right now, the world is such where like it's really easy to offend people, and it's real
Really?
easy to just to do the wrong thing. Yeah, surprise.
I didn't hear about
Uh,
that.
I'm trying. I'm trying to be a little better with that. I'm trying not to. I nothing I've ever done is malicious in terms of like things that would
Right.
offend people. But I've had like jokes that I don't think anything of. I just think it's like a throwaway gag. And I had somebody in a test audience be like, I was offended by that joke, and I'm like, really? Like that
Wow.
that offended you? And so I like that was my first movie, and
Mm,
that's like from then on, I'm like, I'm gonna offend people. I'm just gonna not do it maliciously.
yeah.
I'm going to do my best not to do that and just to, make good things,
Will will do you think Mel Brooks would have survived today?
No, 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 not at all. I love Mel Brooks. I love Mel Brooks's
Me
movies and I
too.
always will. But I mean, he couldn't. There's no way. I was thinking about Blazing Saddles today,
Oh my
and
god.
I was like,
I
never,
mean, what a
never in a
masterpiece,
million
but
years.
but
It
just
is. Even the post. I was looking at a poster of it. And I'm like, man, this poster wouldn't even fly today. People would he'd be
I know.
canceled right away.
I know. And
Yeah,
also just in thoughts of Carl Reiner, also his good friend, who just
yeah,
recently passed and stuff. He was
yeah.
fantastic too.
He was one of the
Um
yeah. They were both. They were
yeah, man, the
two of
2000-year old
two of the
man
greats.
and all that. I
Yeah.
mean, I have those I have them on not on cassettes, but I have them on like the what do you call those, CDs? Remember CDs?
Okay. Yeah, I
Yes,
do.
I have like a whole
I do.
box set of like all these amazing. I always tell people I feel like I was born like in this weird at a weird time. Like I missed, like I feel like the 40s, 50s, and 60s were to me like everything was just brilliant. It was like all those guys that were
Yeah.
coming up, Sid
It
Caesar,
was.
and it was just amazing time to be there. So I go back and I really have studied all that era, that whole era, really really extensively, and I just love it. And Mel Brooks is like, to me, he's just freaking amazing, and he's so quick. Like I'll
Yeah.
watch his
Still.
interviews, like yeah, like his old interviews on Johnny Carson. Like when he's just sitting with Johnny talking, and just like boom, quick, man. Yeah, still exactly.
Yeah. He's
Um,
94, and he's still like I saw him live last year. I guess was the last time I saw him live. I think I saw him in. They had a thing at NJ Pack with Spaceballs, so they
oh,
showed Spaceballs, and then they had like a Q&A with him afterwards, and he's still like he's got it.
he's
He's like
got it.
I'm not that fast. I'm
I
not
know,
even
isn't that crazy?
nowhere close to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it seemed like it had to be in that era. Like for filmmakers and for writers, and that whole era was so different. Like Warner Brothers and MGM, they would sign these artists, and then that artist had to know how to sing, had to know how to write,
Mm,
had to know how to
yeah,
not write, had to know how to sing, dance, and act, right?
yeah,
And they would go to classes, and there was just this interesting control over the artists, and they would sign out an artist to, like, Warner Brothers, and then MGM will take somebody. It was such a weird time, but you had to be on. So those guys
yeah,
from back then, Sid Caesar and Milton Berle and all those guys, they just were always on, and it was just
yeah,
so impressive. I would love to get back to something like that,
yeah. That would be cool. That
Yeah,
would be
and
cool.
I think it could. I mean, I think that there's possibilities of because of this pandemic. I think a lot of people have taken maybe their lives a little bit more seriously and what they want to accomplish and what they want to look forward to. So I think that's changed a little bit. What do you think? This is going to be a loaded question. I'm sorry, I don't want to. Do you have something to say about the 40s?
Wasn't a great time for my
I know.
people, the Jewish people, but
I know.
you know,
Oh, that's right. Oh,
no,
geez.
so great artists came about from there. So I'm
Yeah.
100% in agreement with you.
And how many Jewish artists, comedians? I mean, they kind of shaped Hollywood. To be honest, I mean, they ran Hollywood, in
Yeah,
and
I mean, they started in like the Borscht Belt with the vaudeville scene,
mhm.
and I mean, when you're being persecuted from country to country, you got to laugh, right? So
Man, you talk
they
about
they took that and they
persevering.
ran with it. Yeah,
Absolutely, the Marx Brothers. Also, I've read a lot of their books and stuff, and they'll talk about doing these like little vaudeville shows for like whatever it is for 50 cents, a show. And people don't realize that the Marx Brothers were so already well-oiled machine by the time they got to the films. Like when they shot those
yeah,
films, they were all in their 40s. They had already 25 years of Broadway performance. That's why the films are so sharp. Um, do you think theater and film? There's people, film people sometimes are like, nah, I don't do film. Like De Niro is like, no, I don't do live. And then they'll have people like Pacino, who's thrives on theater. Is there like a point where that kind of will come together in some fashion where the actors can live happily? Because there's always this thing. Well, I do theater. Well, no, I do film. I do theater and film. You know,
yeah.
um,
I love both, so I've never had a problem with either. I love like theaters where I grew up. Theater's what I learned, and
right.
theater like I love. Like if you had told me you can only choose to act in one thing, I would choose theater because
Really,
for me there's nothing like live theater for me. I can do
yeah,
anything on the stage. I love that.
yeah,
But I understand like some film actors feel much more comfortable doing film, and some theater actors feel much more comfortable in theater. And I know that I mean, I feel for them. Like there's theater actors who want to just do theater, and then you have like the Hollywood actors who maybe aren't as good at theater come
yeah,
into Broadway, and just because they're a name, they're able to like show like headline a show,
yeah.
and that kind
That's
of sucks sometimes, but especially
yeah.
when they don't have any theater background, you know.
Right. That
But
yeah, I know what you mean by that. That does
it's a
actually kind
business.
of suck. I've seen that in because there are guys out there that are just started out in theater and you don't even realize it. They're like these
Hmm.
brilliant film actors, but they have this amazing background. Like De Niro, for instance. Let's say, I mean, De Niro's not going to do theater at this point of his career, but
No,
um, if like 15 years ago or maybe 20 years ago, if he said he wanted to go on Broadway, he would headline a Broadway. Even though he never did any theater,
easily.
he would just be
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of like you can't really do that the other way around. You know,
No, 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 no.
can't be
Guys like great Broadway actor is not going to be like, I'm just going to be the lead in this
right,
movie real quick. It
right.
doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like the lead from Rent is not going to suddenly just get cast as in a big giant
But
blockbuster.
he isn't Star Trek though.
Yeah.
One of them. I don't know the other guys. I don't know the other guy. I don't know what happened to him. But a
Um. Yeah, I'm not
bunch
sure
of
what
them kind of
happened to
blew
him.
up.
I saw Rent twice when it came out. It was like a phenomenon, so I had to
Yeah,
go see it,
it's huge.
and it was really really phenomenal. I thought it was really great theater, and it was a great. I just love live theater. You're right. And I haven't done
Right.
a lot of it, mainly for the time that it takes to really prepare for something like that, especially
It's a lot.
having kids and all that. It just takes a lot. And I got into this game kind of late in my life. This was not. I wasn't planning on doing anything in film
It's
really.
never too late, John. It's never
Yeah,
too late.
so I decided to just jump in, and here I am, the new boy.
There you
Um,
go.
so let's talk about some of the stuff that you're currently working on. Like and I want to go back a little bit also and talk about
Sure,
some
sure.
of your past projects. But are you currently? Do you have something that's like ready to, as soon as that our governor says, "All right, guys, go," if that's going to
I'm
happen
a.
this year?
I I have I've been like procrastinating today because my day job, I work for the American Federation of Teachers, the
Hmm.
teachers union,
Oh,
and
okay.
so we're like knee deep in schools reopening. So I've been busy with that, and it's like my mind's been occupied. But I need to send an email out, maybe when I'm done with the interview, to my cast and crew and just like find days because we are ready to push
Mm,
at least two or three of the shorts that we need for the horror anthology. We want to film as much stuff as we can now before the next wave of the virus comes in and we're
right,
stuck home again. And
right.
then once we're stuck home, I'll just edit the rest and we'll keep going.
And you keep
We'll just
going,
keep
yeah.
going.
So
But yeah,
there's a little break, you
there's
go out.
a exactly there's a few shorts because what is it? I think the horror anthology is made up of 9 shorts and a wraparound story. We filmed the wraparound story and we filmed a few of the shorts. I think we've got 5 more shorts to film. It
Wow.
was 4. We may have to replace one of the shorts we were doing, which is unfortunate, but it just the flow of the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
So
It didn't match
yeah,
up.
yeah, it wasn't. It needed to be quicker. So and there's nothing else I can do about it without changing the entire thing. So
Ah,
we're gonna replace that with another one, film that, and then we got a couple other ones to do. One of them is going to take a little bit more time, and I need to talk to my production designer Maggie and our costume designer Tanea,
mm.
and we need to, because it takes place in the 30s. It's a silent horror film,
Oh my gosh,
so
that's awesome.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that
well,
one
Maggie could figure it
that's
out,
gonna be
man.
fun. That one. Since you talk about like where you get ideas, we me, my brother Isaac, and our good friend, colleague, fellow producer Billy Farley, who you know,
Hmm.
we go on all these film festival trips. And the Golden Door Film Festival in Jersey City, which is one of our favorites, if not our favorite, they used to always play at the award ceremony a Fatty Arbuckle short.
Mm,
And we're always like, we want to film something like that because that's
right.
hilarious. Nobody's doing it. So we're
Mm.
hanging out, and we're talking about horror movies and the horror anthology, and we're like, what about like a horror Fatty Arbuckle movie? And then like Billy he goes, yeah, chubby Smartfluckle, and that was it. And like then we were like, all right, let's write this right now. We don't have to have any dialogue. It's a silent film, so I'm just gonna. I got
Right.
my iPad out. Like we went back to the hotel room. We knocked it out overnight, like that one night, and then that's one of the shorts we gotta do. It's gonna be
Oh,
more
that's so
difficult, but
cool.
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
That's fun. Oh, Maggie could definitely figure out that stuff. She's great.
If you do anything,
Um, yeah. So talk about your team because you have such a committed team. You know, like
yeah.
I'm so impressed by when you guys show up. You know, everyone is like on board. Everybody is always very committed to the project. Are these guys that you just grew up with and were in film, or did you meet them along the way?
No, I met most of them along the way. I met my brother when I was born, so he
Ah,
was he was probably the first one I met of them
the first
those
one.
guys. So we've been acting together since high school, since I started, and he started before me. And so like like I just like followed his coattails with that one.
Mm,
But Billy, who is our one of our producers, he's one of our actors. He directs, he DPs. I met him. We did West Side Story when I was a freshman in high school. When we were both freshmen in high school.
oh wow.
I met Dan in high school, but he never did theater. He never did. He wasn't part of my social group really. We knew each other. I think we had a gym class together. But then, like out of nowhere in college, it seemed like out of nowhere in college, he was like, "I'm gonna, I'm acting now," and I was like, "Dan Gregory is acting." And then he contacted me. He was like, "Hey, you want to be in this movie that I'm in?" Um, it's like I forget what it was even. He's like, "You'd play a cop, who's like my character's friend," and I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then so like we did it. I was supposed to have 2 days on set. I did one day, and then nothing happened with them. They just stopped filming it. But I got to act with Dan, and in between scenes, we would just improv together. And I was
Mhm.
like, holy shit,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about this, but he's got like an instinct for improv and comedy. So I was like,
Yeah.
that was like the summer before our first movie. So I was like, when I decided I was gonna write a script to produce, I was like, I'm gonna cast him in one of these parts, one of these lead parts. So I did. Um, then we were like putting together our crew because I'm not a media major. I wasn't a media major in college. I was theater, just theater. So I know
Mm.
actors. Like, and I had all these actors that I love, and like I was like, "You want to be in a movie if I write it? You want to be in a movie if I write it?" Everybody said, "Yeah." One of the guys was like, "It's not going to happen," but sure, it did happen. And then I had a friend who was a DP. He came on. One of my friends from acting also started directing some theater, so he was like, "I'll direct it." And I was like, "If we can find a good DP, we had the good DP." We had a friend of a friend was a sound guy, and like he was like, sure, I'll do it. Maybe I'll miss one day. And then as we got closer, he was like, I'm gonna only be able to make one day, but I have this guy for you, and he'll do it, and he's great. And he's like Joey Mosca, who went to
Ah.
NJCU. I went to NJCU. Never met Joey.
Mm.
But like he first day of filming Blaming George Romero, which was our first movie. He comes down the block, shake his hand, very quiet. Now he's not quiet anymore, but he came on, and like that was probably our first great find because like he was our sound guy for BGR, but he also does lights, he does directing, he does DP, he edits, he acts sometimes when I force him to, and he's like probably our most like multifaceted member, Narrowbridge Films. So he was just friend of a friend of a friend, came in,
Yeah.
and he's been with us ever since.
Wow.
Um, who else? Tanea is our costume designer. She was an actress. I acted with her in college, and then she just went off and started doing costumes. So when I needed something that had costumes, I was like, Tanea, can you help us out? And I have a part for you too. So she acted in the movie. She did costumes for Red Scare. Um, Maggie, I'm like listing like the core group.
Yeah.
Maggie came in as
Here's
an
Meg.
actor. Hi, Maggie. She was
Hello.
just an actor. I acted. I met Maggie doing Rent. Speaking of Rent,
Oh
I met
wow.
Maggie doing Rent at the JCC, and she was an actress, and like she was in our web series Lost and Found, and then she was an extra in Cabin of Errors, which was our third feature now on Amazon Prime. And then I knew she was an artist, and I knew she was like doing some set work for like the I think the JCC. She was like doing some of their sets,
Mhm.
and when it came time to do Yellow Scare, I was like, "Hey Maggie, do you want to come on and do some artwork for us?" So she did, and she worked with Steve Defendini, who I also knew in college, and they were our production team, our production design team. And she just like she'd never done a movie before, but she was phenomenal. She knocked it out of the park. I
Completely
was like,
natural. Like
and now
wow.
she's like, I mean, I have pictures up on the Narrowbridge Instagram and Narrowbridge website. What she
Hmm.
does is like like this is the thing I always point to is she will take a like an unfinished basement and she turned it into an apartment, like a full apartment in like 3 hours. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. She's really
Yeah.
phenomenal. Um, I'm trying to think who else. Jenna Kildosher is an
Mhm.
actress. She's worked with us for a while, and now she's written stuff for us. She's directed stuff for us. Sammy Saad is another guy
Mhm.
who you know. Sammy
Yeah.
was he acted in Red Scare. He was a friend of a friend. Came on for like a small zombie role, and then for Yellow Scare because I knew he was into media and camera work. I was like, "Would you like to help in the camera department?" He said yes, and now he's a DP with us. He directs with us. He's acted with us too. He's a good voice actor as well. So yeah, and I mentioned Billy, who I knew, and
Mhm.
Billy and Isaac are like them right now, like the main producers. Dan doesn't love producing as much as he likes the other stuff, but Dan
Yeah.
will produce as well, and it's good because I feel like I've talked a lot. But the first two movies, first movie it was me producing and a friend of mine, Brad Resnick, and then for Red Scare it was just me, and it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work and money. And then
Mhm.
from then on, we started doing shorts. We did our web series. We did two other features. From then on, Isaac and Billy and Dan helped me just so it wasn't just me,
Right.
and that does. Like I love them for that.
Yeah.
It really is amazing. And then like
That's
all the other actors and crew, sorry, all the other actors and crew just met along the way. They come into our orbit, and they're great.
Yeah, it's so cool, and it also just makes life so much easier that then you can create better. You know,
Yeah,
'cause now you're
yeah,
not worried about certain things, and um, Maggie's sending kisses and saying "aw." Maggie's great. Maggie's great.
she is. She's
Yeah, I
awesome.
mean everyone that you have is like really. I mean, I guess that's the thing that impresses me is a commitment to it. You know what I mean? Because making a film
Yeah,
is there's nothing really like it. You know what I mean? Like I'm a musician, I'm a songwriter, so I can pick up my guitar and I'll sit here and I can write something. You know, I can do that. I can also sit
yeah,
down with a piece of paper and I can write. You know, there's a lot of things I can do solo. You know,
yeah,
but really when it comes to film, you really rely on really good people that are there for you and that can really move the needle in the right direction for you. Do you what do you see in the next I mean, I know with the let's just put the pandemic situation just
yeah.
I know it's not easy, but let's just put that
Oh god.
aside for a second. Let's just say that 2020 didn't have this situation, but like in 5 years from now, you know, what direction do you want to go? Are you continuing to do feature films? Are you looking at something online, like or on Netflix, or trying to sell something to Netflix or a show?
We would love to do Netflix. We would love to get funding from outside sources that want our stuff. We want to work with names because it's the sad truth of it is if
Yeah.
you don't have a name in your thing, they don't care. We
Right.
went to the American film market out in Santa Monica, and the first question they always ask, because these are the people that buy movies, these are the people that distribute movies. First question they always ask is who's in it, and you say I'm in it. They don't care. They do not care about that. They don't care
Well,
about me.
if you
They're
say it
like,
like that, I'm in it.
like they're like, oh no, and like they're like, oh, like sometimes you show them the trailer and like, oh, that's a really nice trailer. It's too bad you don't have anybody in it. I'm like, there are people in it. They're good people. You just don't know who they are yet.
Isn't that
It
horrible?
sucks.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's the business. It's the
Yeah.
business, but it's tough, especially because like anybody who wants to like distribute something here, they don't want to just distribute in America. They want to distribute it overseas,
Of
and
course.
overseas you need a name too. You can't just be an American independent company. It's
Right.
because right now anybody can make a movie. You can make a
Right.
movie on your phone. I'm on my phone right now. My phone has a better camera on it now than my first camera did for our
That's right.
first movie. You know,
That's
it's
right.
sad, but that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah,
I was
sorry, I forgot the question, but
no, go ahead.
we wanna like make like stuff. We want to get names involved, and we want to just keep making movies.
Yeah.
Whether that's even just selling scripts. I would love to sell my scripts to people who will make them. That's something I really want. I need a literary manager or agent to
Mm,
get my scripts in the right hands. And we also want to act in other projects too, not just Narrow Bridge, but all over. You know.
yeah. So talk about like the name. I'm fascinated by this. You need a name. That kind of thing because it's so interesting. I did a thing years ago. It was a really weird film, but it did really well for some reason. It was I played a sleazy tonic salesman, and
Okay.
they wanted Mike Tyson to play this boxing role, and they he agreed to do it, but he wanted $100,000 a day, and it was like it was a 3 day shoot, and the
Yes.
budget of the film was about 500. So they were like, well, we can't give him like 300, so that didn't
Yeah.
work out, but it would have changed the film. It would have
Mhm.
actually elevated the film to a different whatever. People would have been like, oh, Mike Tyson's in this, and he probably would have gotten more airtime than the actual guy who did get the role, who was also a great boxer also, and but not as a household name. I mean a world name like Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that. So are we saying, are you saying, Sam, that that in order for somebody to write a film to get any kind of recognition on their project, that they actually have to go chase like some a famous person?
Depends what you mean by recognition. You can
Well,
get like you can get into a film festival. You can win awards. You can do that. Like that's possible still, but it's harder. If you go to like a lot of film festivals, it doesn't feel it's indie, but it doesn't feel like it's indie. Like we had Yellow Scare in a bunch of film festivals and all over the country, and you go to those things, and there are names headlining the other movies that are in those festivals, and it's like, ugh,
yeah,
it's like what am I what are we competing with?
right,
I
right.
can't compete with like that kind of movie, so
But
it's tough, and that's what they want.
right,
Like
and don't you think?
for commercial
Yeah,
success, that's what they want.
that's what they want. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Um. Yeah. I mean, I guess if because it is a always going to be that, it's always going to be a competition thing. People are going to go see someone they know. It's just the way
Yeah,
life is. And that's
yeah.
gonna. So, in preparing for upcoming projects, are you thinking with budget like for? Because I know that there are a lot of great actors that are well known name actors that love to do indie films for very little money. They're out there. You
Mhm.
hear about these guys all the time. I think Franco is one of them. I know Ruffalo is also another one. They just like, if he knows somebody, he goes, yeah, I'll do it. It's a 5 day shoot. I'll come in and I'll do it, and they'll do it for like no money sometimes, or maybe very little money. Um, is that part of like something that you would consider to go towards? Because it looks like the next step for you guys, because you guys have done so well. You guys have done so well
Yeah.
in the festival circuit. You guys won all the awards. It's been like I mean, you guys were in the front page of like every newspaper in Jersey and stuff. The Golden Door Awards and all that. You know, so the next step to me seems like it would be looking for that whatever that name person, or some science experiment where you just make them in the kitchen or something.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we tried to get somebody for Yellow Scare. We tried to get a name actor in there,
Oh,
and it wasn't happening. I
mm,
was reaching out to agents. I was reaching out to managers. I was doing
okay,
everything that I could do, short of going out to casting directors and hiring a casting director to try to bring one in. That would probably be the next step. But
yeah,
also, we would have to have the money like up front, being like, all right, we got this money. This is
you
what we
got
can offer. And like one of the people at the film market, they were like, next time just budget. You can get a B level actor, and that'll be enough. You just get him $5,000 a day. And I'm like, $5,000 a day. I was like, do you know how much this movie costs to make? It's like you said, like Mike Tyson wanted the whole budget of the movie. It's like that
I,
would bankrupt us. It's like they just need to be in one scene. We just want them in one scene, and we can sell this movie. I'm like, all right, we'll work on that, I guess.
wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I guess that is the next thing to do, or
so,
somebody just becomes a name. We just need somebody
yeah.
we know.
But the one thing I didn't mention is horror movies will work without a name for some reason.
Very
Horror
interesting.
horror sells better than a straight like horror sells better than comedy. Comedy doesn't sell for anything. It's
Yeah,
bad because like people have different sense of humors throughout the world, so they're not gonna invest as much unless
it
there's a
doesn't
name involved
translate.
with a comedy. But horror will, and that's one of the reasons that we're doing this horror anthology because we're gonna try to. If you go on like Netflix or Amazon, that's the kind of movie that people are just going up and like clicking, even if they don't see a name they recognize. They just want to watch a scary movie. Boom.
Interesting.
So that's what we're hoping for. That's what we're hoping for.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought
and
about
then,
that,
and
but
then hopefully making our bones with that, making our name out there, getting our name out there, because that's what this whole thing's been
yeah,
is
it's about
pushing our name
branding.
out there, and it's gotten out there. It's out there more than it was when we started. So
Hmm.
we're successful in that. We just need to keep getting it out there until we're a household name and people we're in demand. Beyond
Right.
beyond the people that already know us.
Well, I gotta say, you guys are definitely gonna get there because you guys are all very, very. You're so committed to the project. You also like each other. I could tell, like when you guys are on set, you're making jokes. I rarely understand. Like there's,
So,
I don't know if
sorry about
they're
that.
way too inside, inside jokes, or just over
Yeah,
my head because I'm just not as smart. But you
I
guys are
don't think that's true.
hilarious.
Oh, just we're. I mean, like I said, like I had all those, all the history of us. It's like a family. It's a second family, and
Yeah.
I love everybody that we work with. And it wasn't. We've worked with people that I haven't liked, and like those people don't work with us anymore.
Oh
It's
yeah,
a it's a
sure.
trial and it's a trial and error kind of thing. People that don't work move out. The people that are in it right now, we've been through it together. We've
Right.
been through the trenches, and we don't hate each other. So if you
Right.
can be like on set with somebody for like all that time, on
Yeah.
hot days even, it's like you're bonded. And I love these guys. I do.
Yeah.
I love them
That's
all.
so great. I think Keith just has the solution here. So I'm just
Keith is
gonna
my
Google.
Keith is my business advisor. He's gonna help us out with the business thing once things really start.
Nice.
No handle, man, no handle. But yeah, like Mark, I think I did try to reach out to Mark Ruffalo's people to get him in Yellowstone. I reached out to so many actors for Yellowstone,
Really.
man. it
That's so
just
cool.
didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, getting the name out there, right? Because the name is really that perception. Once people see, like, oh, I've heard of these guys, they have all these, even the actor, is gonna say, it's gonna have different ideas of it. So I think that that's really the key thing, is really to get that branding out, and to keep expanding. And like I said, you guys are definitely gonna get there. You guys are great. So let's we're almost at an hour.
Oh
Um,
wow,
yeah, yeah. I
so
mean,
easy to talk to you, John.
I know.
So easy to talk to. Jeez, I don't usually like
Thanks. I
talking
mean,
to people.
you say that to all the guys in cowboy hats.
I
Um,
do. My dad likes to wear cowboy hats too.
does
So
he?
he does. He does.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm wearing this. I just thought it
Oh,
was a
hey,
little bit different, so I was like, let's do it.
yeah, man.
Um, so let's talk about, just wrapping up here, about what you would like to say to filmmakers out there that are not just filmmakers, actors as well, performers, artists that are during this time right now at home trying to figure out their next step. Maybe a filmmaker out there wants to put out a film. I think a lot of people are reevaluating their lives and being like, what, I've always wanted to do this, make a film or do something. What's some advice that you can give to someone out there watching?
Well, when I was in high school, I met this we went backstage at a play, and like this theater guy was on Broadway. He was a name on Broadway, and like we were able to ask him questions, and like it's like, do you have any advice for us? And he said, if you can like be passionate about anything else and like enjoy yourself, do anything else. And I thought he was being cynical. And I was like, I don't like that. I was like, what's wrong with this guy? And now that I'm older, I get it. If you can do anything else, like do that, because you need to. This is not easy, but if you feel like you have to do this, if like you feel like this is who you are, then do it, and then just do it. Don't listen to anybody who tells you can't do it. You can film, like literally, like I said, you can film on your phone. You can make a movie. You can make a short film. Just get your friends together and film it. Doesn't have to be 100% great. Put it on YouTube, get it on Vimeo, and send it to festivals. You can do that. And so I say do it. If you feel like a passion for it, and like the only thing that can stop you is you. You don't have to wait for anybody. Just do it yourself.
Right. That's
Yeah,
the wonderful thing about being an artist, is that there's no permission needed from
yeah,
anyone. You just wake up and say, "This is what I'm doing today."
exactly.
So that's definitely. So Keith says, "It works for you, John. Love the hat. Thank you, Keith,
See,
my new
there
best friend. I appreciate it."
you go. There you go.
Cool, Sam. I want to thank you so much for being on. I hope you come back again, and as soon as we, move out of maybe out and start shooting stuff, so you could tell us where in the process you're in. As
Sure.
always, I'm always available for you and your team if you guys ever need
I
anything,
appreciate that.
locations
I
and stuff
appreciate it.
like that.
Okay.
Um,
John is great with locations. John has helped us out on numerous occasions with locations.
yeah.
Uh,
So
Great.
anything you guys ever need, I'm always available for you guys. You guys are
Thank you.
great, and you guys inspire me all the time. So
Oh, one more thing. I don't even know if this person's watching, but I didn't mention one person who isn't part of our wasn't part of our core group, but she's getting there, and like she's kind of like just starting out. But Jaylene S. Perez,
oh
she's
yes.
Dan's girlfriend. She's directed the beginning of our horror anthology. She's going to direct another short in our horror anthology. Just starting out, but she's really good. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to shout her out too, because she's kind of like a part of our like main production team now.
Yeah, that's so awesome. She was on the show here a couple
I watched
of
that one.
Yeah, she was
Yeah,
great. So that's awesome, and she's Puerto Rican.
she is. She is.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like, I mean, I'm over time, but I do want to try to like
No, no, there's
highlight
no time
other.
limit here.
Okay, I do want to try to like highlight like other voices. You know, I started this out in Our Bridge for me because I wanted roles and I wanted to write my stuff, but I do want to highlight other people's like voices, especially like now. I mean, like Latino experiences, African American experiences, Asian experiences. I That's not me, but I want to try to give that a voice, give like all of those groups voices because I don't feel like they're as well represented in film. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
that's just
definitely true. And when you
that's
have that
nothing.
platform, it's important to really use it and really share those stories and yeah, those voices. Exactly what you
We try.
said. Perfect.
We try to be as diverse as we can, you know,
Yeah,
because Bayonne, Bayonne is a diverse place.
very, very. Yeah. Are you originally from Bayonne?
I am from Bayonne.
Okay,
Yes,
cool,
I
cool,
am.
awesome. Bayonne
Bayonne High School.
born. Bayonne
Bayonne High
High
School.
School. Nice,
Yes, sir.
nice.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, Sam. Thank you so much for being on. I'll definitely will talk to you
Thank you for
again
having me.
very, very soon. It's my pleasure, and take care. Stay safe out there, of course, and we will talk soon.
You too. Be good, buddy.
All right, man. Take care. Awesome. So that was Sam. Narrow Bridge Films. Please check that out. You saw the website there. It's going to be in the description below. Check them out. Follow them. Share their movies. Watch their movies. Amazon Prime. They have some of their films on there as well. Go to their website and check it out. Just inspiring for me because I'm new in this and being in a band was kind of like we had to work together with groups and stuff like that. With other musicians, and that was always challenging. And once we did get that group together, we had some stuff go on in that, and we unfortunately had to stop that. And then when film came out, I thought, oh, I can be an actor. I don't need anyone, and I could just go out there and stuff. And now that I'm in this stage of my life where I want to start, keep writing and I want to keep directing and in order to do that, you really need people like this. And for me to see this group do this from grassroots, I mean, this is just meeting people from that they went to school with, and it's such a great story, and I'm glad that we were able to document it here on YouTube and on Facebook and on the I Love Bayonne page. Everyone that's on the I Love Bayonne page, thank you for tuning in. So that's the show. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I appreciate you. If you like this, please subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell so we get notifications, and share it as well. And that is all. I will see you all. We're gonna be off until I say we because like I have a huge staff. It's like literally me and my mouse. We're gonna be off until Monday. I'm gonna have Curry Spice is gonna be on here. She's a model and a content creator. She's gorgeous, and there's gonna have a lot of fun conversation on Monday at 9:30. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and as always, a wonderful night. Peace.